I'm Dr. Nancy McIntyre of the Department of Biological Sciences at Texas Tech University, and behind the camera is Dr. Pat Porter of the Texas Cooperative Extension and Texas A&M University. In cooperation with the Texas Department of Agriculture, the Texas Cotton Ginners Association, and Texas Tech University, we're going to take a few minutes to talk about the larger black flower beetle and to discuss ways that you can check whether or not your cotton gin trash is potentially producing a problem with them. About 500,000 pounds of cotton gin trash are produced on the southern high plains of Texas alone every year. When gin trash is stored longer than 9 months, it can produce a problem with larger black flower beetles infesting homes that are located within a mile or two of the gin trash piles. Most people try to determine whether or not a pile is generating larger black flower beetles by looking at the surface of the pile or digging into the middle. But that tends to be ineffective because the beetles tend to congregate near the soil surface, and so the trick is to dig into the pile near the soil surface. You're going to want to dig in at least 2 feet inside the pile where it starts to get moist. That's where the beetles tend to hang out, and you're going to want to look for both adults and larvae. The larvae look like little worms, tan in color, about 1/2 inch long, and the adults are very small and they're black or dark brown in color. This is a store guard trap that can be used to detect whether or not a pile of cotton gin trash is producing larger black flower beetles. These traps are often used in grain silos to determine whether or not there are pests infecting the grain. This is what one of the traps looks like. It's a hollow cylinder made of plastic, and it has holes in it. These holes are large enough for the larger black flower beetles to enter, but the way the holes are drilled, the holes point downwards, so the beetles can't get out very easily. And so they're directed downwards to the bottom, which can be screwed off, and it's a receptacle like this. And to use this to determine whether or not a pile is generating larger black flower beetles, you can tie a string to it, strong piece of string, and you're going to drive it into the pile. You need to try to get it into the middle of the pile because the beetles tend to aggregate in the center of the pile rather than on the surface. So you need to try to get it at least 1 foot or 2 inside.
Go ahead.
The traps need to be placed into a pre-existing hole in the gin trash. So you need to punch a hole with a pole or a broomstick or some such thing. Then you take the trap, you place it in the hole, and you tamp it in. And the string is sticking out, and that's what you can use to retrieve the trap later on by pulling on the string. We would recommend that you put at least 4 of these traps in a cotton gin trash pile, spaced out, in order to determine whether or not the pile is generating larger black flower beetles. You should leave them in there for approximately 2 weeks. You don't want to leave them in there for months on a time because they'll fill up with rainwater or with dirt from inside the piles, and they'll become very, very messy. So come back in a couple of weeks, and to retrieve them, all you do is pull on the string, you pull the trap out, and you'll be able to see whether or not you have any larger black flower beetles inside.